I know a lot of y'all out there are upset because you feel lonely. And look, I've had my own bouts of loneliness, and sometimes I still do. It certainly doesn't help that I see a lot of my friends that now have their own girlfriends, so not only do I see them in a relationship, but also they don't have time to hang out with me. And like, that's cool. I'm not jealous. I'm just like, yo, I mean, I got one less person to hang out with. But no matter what, I'm always gonna be happy for them, alright? It's gonna be cool. But another form of loneliness is that friendship that you kind of missing out on. So you get a bit of a double whammy there because you get reminded that you're not in a relationship, and you also get reminded that you can't be with your homies. I think just as humans, we generally always want to be by people. You know, we always want to have somebody around, and it certainly doesn't help that a lot of people on social media are usually just not alone. A lot of the videos, a lot of the content that you watch, you got people that are like in their friend groups and stuff, and it kind of, you know, it's a little bit hard to watch that when you're a lonely fella because we tend to want what we don't have. I mean, that's another problem with social media in general, is that it shows us a lot of things that we just don't have and that we otherwise wouldn't have even desired. We wouldn't have thought about it. Like, I've fallen down this trap of seeing a bunch of people that are like traveling the world, and I'm like, oh man, I want to do that. But if I never even knew that these countries existed, like, let's just say I was in a hypothetical situation where I had no idea about geography, I would not have wanted to travel to these places. Like, I would have had no desire at all. So I guess it's a bit of a double-edged sword because, you know, on the one hand, yeah, you get to learn about new things. You get to have a lot of opportunities that are shown to you, a lot of things that you otherwise would not have done. But on the other hand, you can't do everything. But that's a tangent because this video is more about the loneliness thing. And look, I think that it's a little bit dangerous to be scared of loneliness. Because like, why are you scared to be alone? You don't love yourself? You should love yourself enough to want to hang out with yourself. Because if you don't love yourself, why would anybody else want to be around you? If you don't want to be around yourself, you know, you always got to have people to distract you. Why are those people going to want to be around you? You know, you should have that inner confidence in yourself to be alone. Let me tell y'all something. When I was in high school, I used to chase a lot of girls, but to be honest with you, I never got any. I do think that it's partially because I grew up in a school where like a lot of people were rich, and I'm not really rich. Like, I'm, you know, we're not poor at all, but rich, I wouldn't say that. So like, and also I'm not tall. I'm like 5'8", and like, I don't know, I guess I got a lot of flaws. Like, I ain't the perfect one, especially when I was in high school. So it does make sense that I didn't get any girls, but it kind of made me a little bit sad to like see all my homies getting the girls while I'm trying to get girls and I ain't got none. Cause you know, I just want to be like my friends, but I couldn't do it. I don't know what my problem was, but you know what? It kind of backfired on them, and it worked out in my favor because ain't none of them in happy relationships with the people that they were in relationships in high school. You know, there was always some sort of problem with these girls that they were dating. There was always something that went wrong. And look, I'll admit that it can be helpful to have those high school relationships because then you get some experience in them. But sometimes you get a little too much experience, I think, and you get a little bit too familiar with being in relationships and you get uncomfortable being alone because you've never experienced it. I think that high school is an important time to develop by yourself, and I spent a lot of time doing that because I had my own things going on. You know, I was working in high school. I had my first like actual job at 15, so I didn't really even have time for a girlfriend. And then when I was 16, I was basically working full time in a restaurant. And that's just how it goes, dude. Like, that's just how it works. But yeah, I never had any of these relationship problems because I was always single, even if that was involuntary. But the thing is, you gotta have that experience because how else can you know what you want? If you've never dated a girl, you don't know what it's like. So how can you know what you're looking for? And that's why I'm saying, like, you gotta have some level of experience with it. And I do think that we need to restore like some level of traditional values in our society because whatever modern dating is, it's just not working right now. It just doesn't work, dude. And one of these like traditional values that I actually think is beneficial in dating is saving sex, not for marriage, but at least for a little bit later. Like, I feel like a lot of people in my generation are having sex way too early. Like, they just met this girl and they're already banging her. Like, why are you doing that, dude? You gotta chill out. Because sex is such like an intimate and personal experience, and it really brings people together, and it really causes like this chemical bond to happen. So when you desensitize yourself to it, it's not going to have the same effect. Like from a biological perspective, this is how you have kids together. Like it's pleasant, but from an evolutionary side, this is how people have kids. When you do this, you're supposed to be having a kid afterwards. So that's why it's so bonding. So when you abuse it, then what does it turn into? It just turns into pleasure, and that pleasure is just going to turn into more desire, which if you watch my last video, that desire is going to turn into more suffering. So yeah, maybe it feels good in the moment, but I think in the long run, it's just going to cause a lot of pain. And this is why you should wait until you really know the other person, because first of all, you should know if this other person is desensitized to that experience. Because if that person is desensitized to the experience, and I'm not trying to shame people for having a high body count, but this is the reality of it. If that person is desensitized to the experience and you're not, then you're going to feel more of a bond towards them than they will to you. And that's going to be painful. That's going to be really upsetting for you. Like that really, I don't know if you've ever been through that, but it sucks. So this is why you should really wait until you get to know the other person. And, some people have like this 3 dates rule. I don't even think that's enough. I don't think that you can put a number on it, but I just know that you got to hold off. And yeah, it can be hard to know if she's the right one for you, but there are definitely some things that you can do to make it easier to determine whether or not she is. Like for me, I know that I will not date somebody who drinks alcohol, who smokes weed, or who uses nicotine in any way. Like these things are deal breakers for me because they're all things that I have struggled with and that I've put a lot of effort to quitting. So I don't want to be really close to somebody who does those things that I have made such a huge effort to leave behind. And those are like short-term things for me. If you really want to think more long-term, I won't even date somebody who has a different outlook on having children than I do, because this is just like setting myself up for failure. So where I sit on having kids is like, well, maybe if our life circumstances align, then maybe we can have kids. But I kind of lean more towards not having them. So if I talk to a girl and she's like, yeah, I definitely want to have children, like I know that I want kids, then I'm just not gonna date her. Like, yeah, my stance is subject to change, but regardless, still feels like setting myself up for failure. And I'm sure that you all watching this have your own deal breakers and your own requirements, so just let me know how else you can determine that in the comments, because those are some of the things that I've come up with in my life, but I know that it's not universal. And look, I'll also state, I'm not like a professional love guy. I'm certainly no psychologist or erotologist. I'm just like a 22-year-old dude with barely any experience, but I've done a lot of observing in my life, and these are just some things that I've learned about dating from watching. Now, I do want to go into another type of loneliness, which I already mentioned earlier, being a lack of friends. I'm not even gonna lie, I don't really have too much experience in like lacking friends, because I grew up in the same school. Like I went from kindergarten and then I graduated in the same school system. So I knew a lot of people that were just like around me all the time, and I was always cool with at least one person. Like I always had at least a friend. So I was never in a situation for at least an extended period of time where I'm like, oh man, I don't have any friends right now. Like I've had times where I was insecure and maybe I didn't get along with everybody, but I've always had at least a friend, and I never felt like truly lonely in that regard. So I'm kind of blessed. But that said, while I've always had friends, I've always had a tendency to enjoy my solitude. Most of my weekends, I prefer to just be by myself, reading a book, or now that I'm getting back into it, solving Rubik's Cubes. And here's why. It's really hard for me to build myself up when I'm hanging out with people, because that's just my personality. Usually when I'm building myself up, I'm doing it by myself, because it's really distracting from my personal development to be around certain people or certain environment. Now, the exception to that is like if I'm volunteering or something, then of course I have to be around people, but I more so mean purely being social. Because here's the reality, like what are most 22-year-olds focusing on these days? I mean, it's certainly nothing important. let's be so for real, dude. And I'm not even trying to say that like chilling with the homies is a bad thing to do. It's just that if I'm on my grind, it's a bit counterproductive to just like be around people. And a lot of times I even made plans for tonight, which I don't want to go to, but I know that these people like want me there. So it's kind of a balance, because I don't know, man, I want to be alone tonight. I'm tired. I've been working all week. I've been working a lot and I just want to chill, but I already made these plans with people and it's like, oh, you know how that goes. I don't know, man. But furthermore, I like to have my own routines, and correlating the time to hang out with people just like doesn't help with the maintenance of those. Like I like to go to bed early because I wake up early for work. I wake up at 8 a.m. to work. So if I want to get a decent night's sleep, I got to be in bed by like 8 o'clock. And that's just in bed because it takes me a long long time to fall asleep. You know, I read for like an hour or so and then I can actually fall asleep. But if I don't read for that amount of time, sometimes I just don't sleep at all that night, and it's kind of painful. So that's why I'm really into my routines, and you know, I'm trying to be able to diverge from them and still maintain my happiness, but I'm not really sure that I'm at that point yet. And again, bro, I do love my friends a lot. Like, my friends are dope and they've helped me through a lot of things in my life, and I've helped them out in a lot of things in their lives. So I'm very grateful to have my friends, but there kind of comes to a point where you got to be in your own bag sometimes. And as you grow older and you focus on your own things, you're going to become distant from certain people that you still love, even if they're really close to you. That's just how it goes, and you got to deal with it. But to tie everything in, you got to be okay with being alone sometimes, all right? I know a lot of times you can make the most personal progress when you're by yourself and you can really sit and reflect on what is the most important to you, like what are the most important things in your life. So don't chase women because you'll end up settling, and if you can't find a girl that suits your needs, then I don't know what to tell you, man, but I know that I'd rather die single than with a girl who I don't love. Alright, that's a little morbid. I want to end on a high note. Love is awesome. It is a driving force in the world, but if you don't learn to love yourself, you're not going to fully love the people around you. And with that, if you want to join the Discord and have some dope conversations with me and the people that watch this channel, please check the description and consider subscribing for more content. I do love you all, and I wish the best for you. Peace out, y'all.